That's muted. Good morning. Sorry, I'm just getting the rest of this stuff set up. How you guys been? All about Bobby then? No, not all about Bobby, but a bunch about Bobby, most likely. What's up, man? Hey, Jen. What's up, Joshua? How you doing, man? Exercising more puts puts more pressure. Less time to settle based on my understand. Oh, good afternoon, Post Malone. Nice. Live from Crete? You jelly? I mean, a bit. Are you gonna get a euro? The pork ones are delicious. No problem, Bacon Sisters. Thanks for hanging out. So, I guess one thing that we should probably talk about right away is the massive drop off in BBBY dark pool utilization Friday. This happened towards the end of the day when we saw that big ramp up in covering. Hold on one second. Let me show you guys this. So yeah, dark pool utilization fell from, let's see, what did it peak at? On Thursday, it was at 58.72, and it fell to 48.79 on Friday. Most of it in the latter half of the day. This updates at the beginning and the middle of the day, and then again at the end. And yeah, it looks like they dumped a lot of internalization. And this is kind of concerning, right? Because call OI fell off on BBBY Friday by, let's see. Open interest. Still don't have an update. Crap. What was August 19th? 242,000 total open interest. I think a lot of it was puts though. It was like about 100,000 of that was puts. So about 142,000 call OI fell off. You can't just skip the intro. I thought I had more time. Well, I kind of wanted to just jump right into it because I knew we'd have a lot to do today. You had a pork one last night? They're so fucking good. Lamb roast tomorrow. Hopefully, same day the spy gets spit roasted. Fingers crossed, right? You look like you're excited to tell us something. No? I took a shower like right before the stream. My hair's wet, but that's not excitement. The Elliott Wave Tech PM I followed says a big inflection point for NASDAQ is coming up late August, early September. And I'm choosing that for that to mean that BBBY sets it all off. That's some lovely bias you have. Yeah, Elliott Wave's fine for indices. Although I would question that late September target. I would say that the SPY and, well, at least NASDAQ and the SPY are both kind of topped out on the current wave. More than. Can we talk about all that put buying and selling at 40? Sure. What put buying and selling at 40? Just like the out of the money calls and puts? Or was someone buying a lot of in the money call puts? Thoughts on the run up on the SPY? Yeah, I'm gonna cover the SPY later. No major downs means a smaller chance for upward OPEX movement. Yeah, or at least less strong OPEX movement to the upside. Um, you know, we really like to see that negative net delta going into an OPEX period. Hold on, let me get rid of this. So we really like to see that like strong negative net delta. Because when that gets dropped, obviously we get a surge of buy pressure that accelerates the covering that's already going on for OPEX. Without that though, probably end up with something more like November, where the covering is very, very rapid, and because the hedge is already positive, there's no real like slow flip. They can just immediately short, right? They can just start dumping the hedge as soon as they cross gamma max. Which is basically what happened in November, right? We hit gamma max and then it just dumped. This does not confirm my bias. It makes me a sad pickle for the 45Cs you told me not to buy. Well, we'll see. FOMO, on the other hand, is very unpredictable. So even though, some of the things on BBBY look bearish, that doesn't mean that FOMO isn't going to just push it higher, right? Is this Fintel data? For the dark pool data? That's SPI data. So it's like exchange data. I bought 10 45Cs before close for like 140 something bucks. If the market does take a good downturn this week during SLD, will you exit puts? Absolutely. Yeah, if I get an opportunity to get out of my puts, especially at a profit, I'm going to definitely take it and then attempt to move the position forward a little more, depending on the speed at which we drop. If we drop fast, like 300 basis points overnight or something, then I mean, I'll stay in them. But you look like a new homeowner. Yeah, I've spent most of my weekend trying to figure that situation out. It is complex. Is there a possible entropy swap on Bobby? I mean, they could be hedging entropy. Why not? I mean, the volatility is high, right? So even if they weren't shorting volatility on Bobby before, they definitely want to short it now. It very, very well may be that Bobby kind of picks up where GME left off. Similar float size, similar interest. Without any dilution, you're looking at, a very, very, very attractive target for short volatility positions if they already haven't jumped on it to begin with. That and its liquidity in ETFs almost ensures that they'll never face any unfulfillable obligations. How are MMs supposed to act for a stock? Neutral, but they also have, jobs that they need to do. Especially like when you get into like DMMs and their requirements, they're supposed to provide a liquid market. They're supposed to attempt to reduce volatility. Um, and by doing some of those things, they can cause the exact thing they're trying to prevent. When you have like a very illiquid stock with a high amount of demand, right? So you're low supply and high demand, and you're attempting to not only provide liquidity but also reduce volatility simultaneously. You kind of end up having the reverse effect in the future after appropriate period of deferment. So they only let things run when it's most profitable to them. Uh, Ideally, yeah. Market maker behavior is generally pretty predictable, right? Um, their risk is really visible because you have data on the options chain, um, and that makes it a very apparent where their risk lies. Um, Ideally, in a perfect scenario, market maker would only ever make money on the spread, right, or on arbitrage. I don't think that's the case. Obviously, they take advantage of, especially retail, but any situations that they can. Is there a possible entropy swap on Bobby? Oh, okay, I covered that. So pre-Fregs Day 2.0 run tomorrow. We'll see. If Bobby continues to rocket, despite what was just discussed, is it better to buy back cover call or roll it forward? Is this more like an OPEX pop and drop, or is this more like a reversion to normal? That's a really good question, actually. Because of the way Bobby was shorted, when that short was started to break down and get pulled back a few weeks ago, um, the effect it's having now is largely a reversion back to its prices it was trading at in the earlier part of the year, right? There's still a lot of demand at those prices. There's still a lot of long holders underwater that are unwilling to sell at those prices, right? Even though many institutions have gotten out of Bobby, not all of them have. Um, and them and some insiders, their shares are at much higher prices. Like Cohen's, shareholding still at what, like the high $13 range, and it's not even profitable yet. Like he's been underwater for a few months now. So I think I think if demand continues, we're likely to see a continued increase in price. As long as those far dated calls, there's like 300,000 fucking calls almost for January, stay in place. And those options contract holders are in fact long-term investors, then we're gonna have a really solid floor backing this up. I think we already do. I think there's an unwillingness to sell out of those far dated leap contracts. And this is similar to what happened with GME. It's similar to what is kind of going or starting to go on with Revlon. Bobby doesn't have the same fail ratio that GME does. It's far more illiquid than GME was or far more liquid than GME was pre 2021. But the same kind of thing happened where calls were so underpriced that people just piled into them because they cost nothing, right? And if those people hold those calls, that really gives a strong amount of support as the price gets hedged upwards. Oh, if it doesn't take if it doesn't take a strong downturn with SLD, yes, I will. I'll exit and reposition. Either way, I'm going to get out of those puts this week. I mean, that's what they're for, right? Like, this is my planned period for them. If SLD is no significant effect on the market this week, then yeah, I'm going to exit those puts and wait to reposition. I'm feeling pretty good about this week, though. We have SLD and we have the Fed that I don't think is going to back down on their rate increases. Just because we showed a little positive data this week. If anything, that should steal their resolve on increasing rates. Is Bobby going to be affected by SLD? It should be. It has been in the past. IWM drops pretty hard during SLD, so Bobby's in that. What does Bobby utilization dropping mean for next week? Well, it means that they can internalize more. They've shed off some of the asymmetric risk, which, you know, we saw in that end of day run into after hours. So their ability to internalize more volume is improved. It could mean we see a bit of a dip this week before OPEX. But I think OPEX is going to be pretty interesting on Bobby. Can I live in your new house? I'll pay you $500 a month in rent. No. Nicholas Woods, thank you for becoming a Cornishon, dude. Gert gets in trouble with the Homeowners Association because of a VWAP flag on his lawn. That might be a good reason to actually own a house. That's the only good reason I've ever heard. Thank you, Chakiseki. Jason Sterling, welcome to Long Johnson, man. For ETF liquidity, is it reset daily for all of the ETFs or only some types of ETFs? It depends on the fund. Not all of them are, you know, actively hedged, right? Some of them only update like once a quarter. Some of them don't have options, which makes them kind of shitty targets for creation because you can't mark the creation long. You'd have to cover it right away. Some of them don't seem to be complicit in allowing over creation. Like, you rarely see like the Vanguard funds get hit as hard as like XRT does or IWM does. So it really depends on the management. They're all different. I wouldn't say any two are exactly alike, unless they're in like the same exact like product basket and have the same like the same charter across all of the ETF products in that like package. It's the same thing they're trying to prevent. That's humanity in a nutshell. Cause the same thing they're trying to prevent. Yeah. When do you expect Rev FTDs this week? So Carl did some analysis on Rev last week on the FTDs, and it looks like after the 15th, I believe, we start to see an increased number of FTDs on Revlon. I don't know what effect that'll have. Obviously, they're MMFTDs, and this is a should be a down period, but Revlon's not really a basket stock. It has some similarities, but not as many. Like it seems that it runs more in line with like ETF rebalancing, but now that it's out of ETFs, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens. Just remember that when obligations were being created for this OPEX period, Revlon was still contained in ETFs. And if they were tapped hard, then there could still be a lot of obligations due. BBBY looking like the new major OPEX player instead of GME moving forward. Buying 916 Bobby calls to cover August OPEX. It could be. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited. Obviously, Bobby's running really, really hard into OPEX, which is never a good sign. But yeah, I would imagine a lot of obligations have been created over the last. When did volume really start to pick up? Like here on like July 7th. So that's plenty of time to build up a significant, ETF position that needs to be covered. Do you care about Perlman's financial situation, i.e., selling off his assets, when thinking about Revlon potential? Yeah, but also, I mean, it benefits him for the stock to squeeze, right? And other companies that he owns are doing pretty well right now, like Sega. Sega's doing well. They've seen a ton of capitalization over the last 2 months with monkeypox. So I mean, yeah, he's not doing personally doing great, but I mean he's still very, very wealthy. And I think there's other interested parties in his like equity group. You said that the main risk of CCs is missing out on VOPs. Is that because the IV would make buying the contract back too expensive? Seems like there's still time. Um, yeah, mostly. Mostly the IV increase, depending on where you sell it, obviously, but the IV increase kind of prices you out. That and you're paying delta. Like you're paying the delta difference if it goes above your strike. You're paying, a dollar times 100 for every dollar it moves up per contract. If you're selling multiple cover calls, they get like I sold some cover calls on Bobby on Friday. For like $1.30 each, and I think they're worth like 220 now. So, to buy them back would be double the premium received. So, it's better for me to just miss out on the upside than to pay for the upside, hoping for more upside. What's up, Grovora? Option strat shows tons of straddles and sweet puts at the $40 strike. I got over 200K and stopped counting. Would this be a new wall for us? It could be. Those sweet puts could be sold. Maybe somebody hedging the upside, like the market maker, as volatility increases. They could be a volatility hedge. They are far enough out of the money. They could be entropic if they're sold. Being caught up IRL things for a while. I've been totally out of the loop with everything going on. Sorry if it's been asked, but are you bullish on Rev? God damn. Fuck you, trash. I watched every minute of your streams last week, but one thing isn't clear. Oh god. Okay, I'm not gonna deal with this. So how long before reposition? I'm thinking end of day Wednesday, as deposit should in theory be done by then. Actually, deposits start Wednesday and finalize on Friday. Generally, not last month, but generally speaking, SLD runs hottest, like to the downside, in the days approaching the deposit period, and then Thursday and Friday following it. Usually that Wednesday has kind of been a little more well, especially this year has been a little more volatile due to the FOMC minute release that falls on the same day. So, you know, like a bunch of SLDs this year, you know, we've dropped, and then the Fed minutes cause like a small spike, and we get, you know, that crazy volatility, and then we kind of fall off into Thursday and Friday. Last month, you know, we kind of traded in, dropped hard, and then came up for the FOMC minutes, and then came up Thursday and Friday. So it's hard to say when we'll see the SLD finalize. I think it's kind of random. You just maybe follow the trend. The rev play is pretty far away, and it was spotted from a distance with certain confidence, it seems. Why aren't more people on it, you think? I mean, obviously, Bobby and GME are attracting far more retail interest right now, as is AMC with its most recent run. Revlon's kind of trading flat, right? You know, since like 2 weeks ago when it ran really hard. So I think it's not really showing signs of, you know, aggressive momentum that people are looking for, that inspires that, but it could, and very rapidly. And if it does, you know, it's made it a little bit into the news cycle. So I'm sure it will attract interest when and if it does run. But right now, the opportunity to get in and average down and get lower prices is quite nice. There are hedge funds that have shares of Revlon at like $20 still. Can you comment on your building's landlord putting a pool on the roof? I'm sure that was like the owner, the management company. I think they just want to raise rents and attract like a certain crowd. If I missed the boat on Bobby calls, should I just wait for some sort of dip, or will Ivy likely not crush this week? If Ivy crushes this week, I don't think it's going to crush a lot. I will say that my 12.50 at 13 and $15 calls that I sold on Bobby on Friday have not been exercised yet. So that's interesting. I mean, it kind of implies that no one's like, if I'd had a GameStop call that closed $2 in the money, it probably would have been exercised, but with Bobby it's not, so I don't think they're really digging for liquidity. Reddit reader, thank you so much for coming to Dillionaire, man. Hit me up on the Discord after the stream. I'll get you added to the country club, man.
Happy birthday, Gert. Yeah. Yeah, we might have a chance, but we ain't got rolls. Give us more than a chance, cause we ain't no coke. Get the cash in advance, cause we hold in the float. If you are what you eat, that makes Gert in the go. Hoping that you read the DD, cause when the shit squeeze, we go end up with the moon, man. Racks to the 510 weeklies, while I'm selling CCs like another fucking moon win. Praise be to RC and the BY, please, cause I need G and me to move soon, man. Got the van GG on the CNBC, saying that he ain't seeing no collusion. And we might be apes, but we ain't that Joe. Motherfucker trades this popcorn code. When the Citadel fails, I'm a bomber on boat. Sail the Elliott waves like a Kramer on coke. Yo, but we ain't no cult.
Do you own the house now? No. So it finalizes tomorrow. Well, August 16th at midnight. But it's kind of a long story. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. My buddy is in rehab, which is I guess why I haven't been able to get in touch with him. I talked to his wife this weekend, and I didn't have her phone number, so I had to drive out to their house. And she was obviously unaware of the situation, but is now aware. She kind of doesn't give a shit. I think she's divorcing him anyway, but I guess the problem went a lot deeper than I thought, and now I kind of feel bad. Do you have a low PT for Spy this week? Um, yes. But I think we may see like 429 before we see it. I would say that the most likely point to drop to would be like 410, like a return to 410. If it drops below that, that'd be fantastic. But it would have to be on the back of like the Fed taking an action of some sort, like another 0.75 increase. If the Fed comes in at 0.75 again, we'll probably see like 400. Because at this point, we're not pricing in any rate hikes anymore, basically. But inflation's still climbing up. And then if oil spikes again, inflation's going to be sky high. So if there's a time for the Fed to like pump out their QT and catch up and raise rates, it's now, while the market can sustain the like handle the blow. Rev Gen 35 sitting in the 0.9 range. Is it dumb to be buying in this range or more downside? I'd wait a little longer. I mean, I could be wrong, right? Obviously, it could just go right back up. But I'm hoping that I could get them a little cheaper. I can do estimate options price if there's a big pre-market move. I mean, you can calculate it or try to calculate the increase in implied volatility. Otherwise, you can't. Supplemental liquidity deposit for FINRA. Oh, okay, there you go. Thanks for answering that, man. The real choice I have is, do I buy more Bobby here above what I took profits, or do I sling it into more GME? Choices. I mean, I wouldn't buy back in at a loss if you already took profits. That seems silly. Unless you're gonna like roll up into options or something like that. Have you noticed the current downturn on Rev looks exactly like the Ross run, but just on way lower volume? Yeah, I have. I'm not sure I understood the start of the stream when you said the dark pool utilization wasn't as high. This means MM's offloading already, or are they unable to take on more risk? They offloaded already. Not offloading, offloaded. They dumped a ton of internalization, it looks like, given that, obviously, the correlation between utilization and internalization is theoretical, but it tracks. So, and to internalize, you would need to increase dark pool utilization. So, we look at it as kind of like a litmus test of how much they're internalizing. It doesn't tell us exactly how much they're internalizing. But when utilization spikes hard or moves down hard, that usually indicates a lot of internalization. And so, with utilization dropping off, that would imply that internalization in turn has also dropped off, which would present the possibility for downside, given that they have less asymmetric risk going into next week. Who am I banning? Bones? Yeah, sold a lot of Bobby cover calls that are underwater. 11.5 and 12, but it's above my cost basis. Worst case scenario, I just buy back in at a better price on the dip and avoid FOMO. Yeah, I mean, I sold some covered calls intentionally, hoping that they would get assigned. They didn't. But I wanted to free up some capital from the shares I was holding and use it to buy like some more out of the money leaps. Most of my leaps are in the money now, which kind of puts me in a scenario where I'm not really capitalizing on the upside very much, or not as much as I'd like to be. So hopefully we get a little dip this week and I can buy into some out of the money calls, or further out of the money calls. Am I still banned? No, you're fine, Zenaps. You were only banned for like 5 minutes. Not even. On Friday's stream, you mentioned something along the line of selling your calls and purchasing a new call to capture some more value. Can you please elaborate? Selling calls and purchasing new calls to capture some more value. Yeah, so once, like, I was thinking about selling off the $7 calls in Bobby. Like the fives I'll probably keep and exercise, or um just hold for now and see like where the price ends up. They're deep enough in the money that, they're basically the same as just owning the stock. Um and I guess I'll just treat them that way. Worst case scenario, I can sell naked calls and use those to hedge. Um or I think I can. Does that account margin? Maybe I can't. I'll have to actually check that. I have BBBY in a different account, and I'm not sure if it has margin on it or not. I guess I could turn it on. Sorry, I got kind of cut up with that. Anyway, the $7 calls, I'm thinking about selling them off and repositioning into like a higher out of the money strike so I can get more extrinsic value if the price of the stock continues to run. Because I really just don't need five and like I have 100 of each, and I really don't need $5 and $7 calls. That's kind of ridiculous. So I feel like selling those off and repositioning to like the $15 strike or the $20 strike would be better. Do you think Bobby will run with OPEX? I mean, it looks like they've built up a lot of obligations. I don't know if it'll run with OPEX or not. You about doubling down on Rev 35Cs for January Monday. I think they could get a lot cheaper. $85 a contract right now. I'm hoping they do. I'd like to buy them between 60 and 30. I don't know if they will, but I'd like to buy them in that range. Obviously, IVs still remained really elevated. Oh, are you talking about selling calls to exercise? So yeah, if I decide to exercise the $5, so I have Jan 5s for Bobby. $5 strike. If I decide to exercise these, I'll sell them. Use the capital, like the premium, to buy weekly, whatever week we're in when I decide to do this. Weekly $5 strikes, and then I'll exercise these. And that way I capture some of the extrinsic value before I exercise. I'll lose the amount gained is minimal. But you do capture the theta value. However, you do pay more for IV because IV will be higher on the closer dated calls. But because it's so many calls, it's worth it. Happy Monday Eve. Thanks, man. Do you have a theory on why everything ran the last 2 weeks? Well, I mean, partially because the indexes were running, right? That puts a lot of pressure on these already liquid stocks that we're watching through active funds. Then additionally, we had ETF FTDs on GME and BBBY, possibly on Revlon as well, likely on AMC. So you're seeing the effect of that ETF liquidity utilization come due. So that sparked part of the run that we saw, at least on GME and BBBY. And then, BBBY has some more factors with all the puts being dropped and the massive gamma ramp in place. I wouldn't say they're all running for the same reasons, but they're all running for similar reasons. They just each kind of have their own nuance. My 9.5C from a buy rate on Bobby expiring the 19th hasn't been exercised either. Yeah, I really don't think that anyone's trying to get liquidity out of those calls. Bobby is very liquid. It remains very, very liquid. It's not GameStop, right? It's not illiquid like GameStop. It's not illiquid like Revlon. So it's a bit different in their ability to hedge and cover. Thoughts on 10, 12.5 CSPs on Bobby? Probably not terrible. I mean, if you want to buy the stock at $10 or slightly under $10, I guess. Or puts are underpriced now on Bobby, so it's not as beneficial as if if we get a turnaround and fall closer to those strikes, maybe it'd be worth it. What price would Bobby get out of control? Like GME Jan 2021, like $40. At $40, it gets kind of nuts just because of the amount of call interest up there. Is Pickle Picks going to be mostly GME Bobby this week because of OpEx? No. I mean, I never include any of the, like, I never include GME or Bobby or anything like that in Pickle's Picks anyway. I have not had, I'll be honest with everyone, I haven't had a lot of opportunity to dig into very many plays because I've been kind of busy with some other bullshit this weekend. But I'll see what I can do by tonight. It may be, Pickles Picks may be a little slim, but I do have some things that I've been working on. Gambling rehab? Yeah. Lunches on popcorn. My August 1911 Bobby CCs have yet to be assigned. What sorcery is this? Like I said, I don't think anybody wants them. There's plenty of liquidity, right? And buyers of the contracts may be waiting for more of a run, which could be a mistake, right? And then the market makers may just simply not need the shares. But yeah, I'm not the only one that has in the money calls on Bobby that have not been exercised. I've heard over the weekend lots of reports of unexercised calls much deeper in the money than mine. I do believe his employer has paid for his rehab stint, but it's he took out like loans against his trust fund. I think his wife was telling me that he's lost about 4.7 million this year. Which he was not forthcoming with, but she has no interest in paying off his debts, which puts me in a bit of an awkward position. I have one burning question. If Jimmy is Jimmy and BBBY is Bobby, what is Rev? Rachel, Sally, Cindy? I think the only way to solve this is a poll. Rebecca? I have no idea. Is there a name that begins with REV? There's no interest rate decision this week, though. So you mean releasing plans for 75 BPS in their minutes? Yeah. They already increased the forward rate for September to 0.75. I think a lot of the enthusiasm in the market is the assumption that they're going to pull back that September 7.75. I don't think they will. I think if there's a time for them to do a third heavy interest a rate increase, it will be September while the market's strong, and I think the market will react to that. Thoughts on Tesla retracing back to the 930 range? It could. Tested 900 Friday. What's their split date? The 25th? You sneaky fuck, Elon. Maybe pull back up to 907? It's only a couple dollars away. It could get rejected at 907 and come down this week. Maybe return. Maybe it could return to, I don't know about 850, but it might fall back down into like the 860 range or 876. I'd wait and see because it could still run tomorrow. So maybe 915. So I'd say Monday, Tuesday, the potential for 915 would remain unless we see a downturn in the market. If we do see a downturn, then I think 887 and 867 are good targets. So maybe like a straddle, if it opens near this price, like near this like 904 price, and then dump the upside on a rejection and roll the upside profits into near the money puts and then write it down. Does Bobby being on a different exchange than Jamie change how they may play the short volatility? A little bit. So internalizing on NASDAQ is harder because you don't have DMMs. The like the DMM the DMM on NASDAQ is it's like a digital exchange, so it's automated. So yeah, it changes the way they internalize, but it doesn't really get rid of their ability to internalize entirely. They just have to shuffle a lot more shares around to do it. Thoughts on CSVs for Rev at 4? Maybe? I don't know. Is it worth it? I'd wait till the price falls. They're closer to the money. Look like large short straddles were opened. Hedging a large move. It could be, yeah. Cat looks good, but it also looks like it's gonna kind of get rejected in this range and pull back. I already closed my 190 Septembers on this. That may have been a mistake, but we'll see. What do you think about the VIX jump end of day Friday? It was interesting, but it's not like necessarily telling. Can you change off the spy chart? It just reminds me of the terrible spy decisions I've made. Sure. You interested at all in Japan's GDP numbers coming out tonight? I am, actually. Thoughts on 10, 12.5 CSPs on Bobby? 10 to 12.5 CSPs on Bobby. I answered you, I think, the first time you asked that. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of buying Bobby at $10 or $12. It's really not worth that much money. Like, I'll exercise $5 calls, but I really have no interest in buying Bobby at 10 or 12 bucks. Also, puts are underpriced right now, so it's extra not worth it. Can you check out DOCU sometime today? I'm reading the options change correctly, but it looks like massive in the money puts came in last week. Yeah, I think DOCU kind of has the same downside potential as everything else. I've noted before that DOCU's been DOCU's been running really similarly to the rest of the basket. Maybe even more true to our expectations, right? With like ETF FTD covering and then, you know, the expected drop off. I intend to buy some puts on this for this week. I can say that much, and I'll have more in the write up later tonight. But yeah. I would not be surprised if we see this drop off. Is your buddy soon to be ex-wife hot like a baked potato? She is an attractive woman. Is the expectation for Bobby to keep running this upcoming week? Or do you expect it to dip and then rally the week after for OPEX covering? Is the expectation for Bobby to keep running this upcoming week? Or do you expect it to dip and rally the week after for OPEX covering? I think we could see a small dip on Bobby this week and a pullback. Especially with the internalization, like utilization dropping off the way it did on Friday. Obviously, I'll want to see the OI numbers going into tomorrow and see how many like long positions were roll forward versus how many were just cash settled. That'll make a big difference. If there was a lot of exercising Friday, then we could see a continuation of the run on T+2. Any expectations for a Revlon run? I don't know if we're going to see a run on it. FTDs are high going into the end of the week, though. Bullberry. Welcome to Dillionaire, man. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Gert. ain't got roles. Give us more than a chance, cause we ain't no coke. Get the cash in advance, cause we hold in the float. If you are what you eat, that makes Dirk in the goat. Hoping that you read the DD, cause when the shit squeeze, we go end up with the moon, man. Racks to the 510 weeklies while I'm selling CCs like another fucking moon wind.
It's not sell the contract and buy a lower one. No, it's sell the contract and buy a closer expiration. Same strike. If you're exercising an in the money call like that. It's really not worth it on things that are like 30 DTE or 60 DTE. But on leaps it's a little more worth it. So after hours Bobby was definitely just hedging risk, so options don't spike. It's possible. It was definitely hedging, right? It's not like retail was just buying up the float in after hours. Regardless of what Motley Fool says. So low PT for this week, still around 36, 37, unless significant shorting comes in. So the low gamma flip is currently there, but it will drop if call interest subsides, right? So if calls sell off and more puts come in, that $36 flip point will drop pretty rapidly. And it could drop, like the next real range of support is like 30, low 34, high 33. So it really just depends where like interest on the downside stacks up. Ideally, we'd fall below that price, right? And then we'd start to see some of that negative hedge from the market maker into OPEX, which would be fantastic, even if it's minimal. Instead of selling $5 calls and buying $5 weeklies to exercise, you could sell to exercise the calls through a broker, or is that worse? That's worse. I mean, you'd still sell to exercise. You're just trying to capture your theta value because you've paid for all that theta up front. The value of that theta is increased as the price of the contract has moved up, and implied volatility and everything have gone up. And so you're pulling back that value and you're trying to exercise the minimum amount of value out of the contract possible. I can show you if this helps people understand it better. Maybe it will. Give me a second. So if we look at BBBY, where the fuck is it? Like not on my list anymore. There it is. That was weird. So if I have Jan 23 $5 call, right? It's worth 860. Well, 882 at the last or the mid. And then a August 19 $5 call is worth 765. So I can sell this, buy this, and exercise this, which nets me a little over $1 per contract. So, like I said, if you have like one or two contracts, it's almost not worth it. But if you have like 100 contracts, it's worthwhile. That's on Fubo, bullish reversal. Fubo. Got censored. Nope. You didn't get censored? Thank you, Dan. Fubo looks like it got rejected pretty hard on this upside test at 450. I'd watch this pullback though. If it bounces, it could run pretty hard. I heard they got new contracts, like some new like rights for something in Europe, right? It was like the soccer leagues or something like that. That could definitely add to their valuation. I played this stock a lot back in like 2021. It was really good. Sold a bunch of cover calls well above my cost basis for Bobby, and I have plenty of deep in the money calls for Jan. Would it be worth selling CSPs if IV continues to spike on an OPEX run? Yeah, it could be. And if you want to buy more shares. The problem with selling CSPs right now is like if we expect a dip, you're gonna probably get a sign. You make sure you'd want to buy Bobby at those prices. Yeah, I don't think Tesla benefits greatly from the new electric car bill, if I'm not mistaken. I started to look into that, but I haven't fully researched it yet. But it doesn't seem like they benefit a lot. Can you explain what an ETF FTD is? It's a failure to deliver on an ETF. No, they get placed on the threshold list when they've failed enough. So once they've reached the failure threshold, then they're placed on the threshold list. Do you think it's relevant what stocks do on the German exchange that was open today? Because BBBY has risen 6% in the 2 hours it was traded today. Sure. Yeah, I mean, there can be some arbitrage effect. The effect isn't huge, but it matters. Considering the recent runs across the board, how risky is it to try to get into positions this week for OPEX? Pretty risky. I mean, prices are definitely elevated, right? Do prior OPEX cycles hint at a time frame to see in the money puts on GME or others? Roland suggesting OPEX confirmation, trying to figure out how and when to extend balance risk to enter OPEX plays. Generally, they would have already started. Upon the finalization of the ETF FTD covering, we usually see in the money puts start coming in. Like, so we saw the shares returned across the basket, right? And borrow rates drop, but we didn't see a lot of in the money puts coming in. And that could have been because there was so much like forward gamma imbalance still. That was Wednesday, right? And if they're carrying a large amount of like forward imbalance into Friday, they'd want to clear out Friday. So hopefully tomorrow we'll start to see more in the money puts coming in. Some people were saying that we've already seen them coming in pretty heavily on BBBY. So it's possible that, this coming week we'll see a lot more of that interest pick up. Sorry, I know I'm really far behind on the chat, but I'm just trying to get to everyone's questions. If you guys haven't been in here before, it goes a little slower. I try to answer everyone's questions if I can, or at least the ones I'm tagged on. She might have interest in his debts if they're divorcing They split in the divorce too. Well, there wouldn't be any debt, right? I would just take the house. Sounds like your dude needs to become a dillionaire and get in Pickle's picks. I have 20 cover calls expiring 8/19 at 36.50 that haven't been assigned on GME, so they don't need the shares either. Interesting. Most of the calls that I've seen in the money this week have been exercised, so I'm surprised that you haven't been. You're just lucky, because you may even get a chance to get out of those this week, at a profit. VWAP. Wait, what? Oh, VWAP. Why is it broken up? Why isn't it print as one word? Oh, because you put a space in it. Volkswagen authorized participant? No. Oh. VWAP. Ravonica? Revan? That'll get confusing with the company Rivian, right? Revson or Revi? Revesica? Oh man, I'm so fucking far behind on chat. Can you explain what ETF FTD is? Okay, I answered that. Is visiting and talking to your friend's wife same as covered call? Maybe. Moon soon. Thanks, Bullberry. I hope so. Was the buy volume we saw BBBY Friday, Thursday? Mostly FOMO. I think Thursday was mostly FOMO. I think Friday was a lot of internalization dumping. Can you help me understand Fed minutes a bit more? Are the minutes a release of their discussions last month during FOMC, or is the info release based on the meeting they're having now? Thanks. It's the meeting from Jackson Hole, like their yearly meeting. I think it's the results of that meeting. But yeah, it's the last month's meeting. It's not the minutes are the previous month's like discussion, which may not be bullish at all, right? Because like the previous month we didn't have good CPI data. They were expecting it, but we didn't have it. Can you please suggest some good MACD settings that are faster than the standard settings? You can do 3.9. How fast do you need it? Are you trying to use it on like the 5 or 15 minute? Hmm. So you go like fast length 3, slow length 9, smoothing. Fuck, what does smoothing go on? Like 3.912, so you get a fast indicator, but it's not as volatile. You can go 714 714 with less smoothing. So like 714 714.6 for the fast, slow, smooth. You can try both of those. I'm not sure what you need them for, but one of those might work. How do you protect your parking spot when driving to your buddy's house? Chill. I don't need to. I just rented a parking spot. It's like they changed they started ticketing every week for alternate side parking, and so now it's just not worth it to pay the ticket every week. Thoughts on Rivian? Thoughts on Rivian? They came out in their earnings saying their vehicles wouldn't get tax credits, and they stayed flat while everything ran on Friday. I don't know, just I guess being honest or trying to prevent over speculation. Maybe insiders are buying and they don't want like a run up. I have no idea why they'd come out and say that right away, but what are the biggest things you watch at night and PM to see if things will go green or red? Usually Dixie, um, Hang Sen. Those aren't really as relevant, but like hold on. I'll watch Dixie, which is the dollar index, which is rising or was rising, which is bearish. Hang Seng, Shenzhen, China 50, which is like the largest 50 Chinese equities. I'll watch the S&P, Nasdaq, and Russell E-minis. Along with the and the Dow, with the Dow 30, which is like the 30 biggest companies in the Dow. And then I will also sometimes watch like treasury bond futures. UVXY hanging out at 9. Is there much value moving into a September, October call position, or money better spent on individual stocks or index puts? I don't know. The VIX is really cheap. I moved into some speculative positions on the VIX this last week. Uh, it's kind of hard to resist at this point. Normally I don't speculate on the VIX. I just carry my VIX hedge, and when it's profitable or mostly profitable, I sell it off and take some profits and roll out my hedge. Um, but yeah, I even put some money on the VIX on Friday. It's really attractive at these prices. Do you have any opinions on the deep out of the money puts bought on Snap for Jan 23? OI is big, around $50-$70, somewhere around $1 billion. Interesting. Could be sold. You say bought, but how do you know? So if one of the memes pop, does that mean we will probably see MOAS? No. But we could see a big price improvement. Remember that like any pressure on GME will be amplified by the fact that it is massively illiquid. Can we talk about the kerning on your hat? No. Maybe? Are you talking about this like gap thing? It drives me nuts too. I think it looks weirder on the camera than it does if I'm just holding it because of the zoom. But I'm confused. You just said you don't know if we'll see a Bobby run, but last week I thought you were bullish on the chances of a significant positive movement in Bobby with FTDs. Bobby doesn't have any FTDs due this week. I assume you mean gamma imbalance, which is what I discussed. I don't like the potential given that utilization has fallen off so much. It looks more bearish, and that didn't update till today. That's data from after hours. So I wouldn't have commented on it on Friday at all. Sell on GME for BBBY. Ew, no, I wouldn't do. I have no intention of doing that. I believe I saw somewhere that 70% of EVs currently sold will not benefit from this bill due to being too highly priced. Yeah. Which opens up a lot of opportunity for, you know, more economically priced electric vehicles, right? Are shares and $35 calls the only profitable plays on Rev? What about near the money? I don't have a problem with near the money. It's just that what I think is possible on Revlon, it won't matter if I buy near the money. Right? If Revlon's gonna run, the $35 calls will go up significantly in value, right? Because it has no, like no liquidity, and so for it to for covering to occur, lots of volume has to be traded, which will increase implied volatility, ideally price as well. Also, the $35 calls have a lot of delta. They're like 0.2, they're like priced at like 25% chance of going in the money. So they kind of cover everything, right? They put a little pressure on the market maker. They have really good IV, like they have good Vega sensitivity. They're not overly sensitive to delta right now, but if the price rises, they will become much more sensitive to delta. I just don't see a reason to buy like the other calls, I guess. The shares I bought because I wanted to maintain exposure, and the other options I bought are just to like have a little bit of exposure in place in case it runs unexpectedly, right? But mostly I just want those 35s. Ravonica. All right. No problem, Stefan. Is options time and sales data free or only paid? You can download it from CBOE for free, I think. If not, you can get it off of, you can scrub it. You can use an API to scrub it off of Thinkorswim. Sorry to hear about the compounding situation with your friend. You're a great guy. And I know that's got to be tough. Thanks for all you do. Thanks, man. I want to buy some VIX calls or UVXY. Does VIX also move in 0.5 increments? What? No. VIX is at 1953 right now. You mean the calls? I can't remember if it's 0.5. No, dollar increments on the VIX. Or at least the ones that are open right now. There's some 0.5s available on the VIX, but they're way the fuck out of the money. There's like 32.5s available on it. 42.5 and 47.5. And then there's 14.5, 13.5, and 11.5. But most of the contracts are like near the money are $1 increments. That was a little confusing because I've seen 0.5 increments on VIX before, but yeah, I think near the money they're not. For September rev calls, would the thought be to dump and reposition to Jan if no movement by August 24th? Yes. Yeah, I intend to dump the September, like anything nearer dated on Revlon, and move that out to leaps if nothing happens for OPEX and stuff. I have a few 123 Rev 35s. Better to buy further out contracts or just add to this position? I want more exposure. I mean, there's not a lot of open interest in the further dated contracts. Um, you may want to wait to build up position there, or, you know, set orders and hope you get a good fill. Because right now, I mean, the spread is super wide for like the June and December 2023s. Like, it's going to be hard to get a good fill on these. The $10 for June 2023 aren't so bad, but they're not great. I mean, it's still like a $35 spread. Alan Hibergoff, thank you so much for becoming a Cornishon, man.
Cornishon. Cornishon.
RevWAP. I'm a Cornishon trespassing on the Dillionaire stream. Ugh. Fucking gifted subs. Thoughts on TTD crushing earnings, but lost the Netflix advertising contract to Microsoft. MSM saying don't sweat it. Look at out of the money puts for 916. TTD. Trade desk? I mean, again, rejected at the test of this resistance. Could pull back. I don't know how out of the money the puts are for, but I can see a pullback as low as 60 over the coming weeks. Volume fucking just died hard. This could also just continue up. If you're gonna enter puts, your risk is at like 77, 71. Did you get closer? 76, 80? To play the downside? So that would be like my upside risk if I was gonna play puts on this. I guess you could try to keep it at 76, but is that the after hours price? What's the after hours price? Okay, it is at 74. So yeah, you could even set risk at like 75 and play the downside. The problem is I think the market may continue to run tomorrow, so you may get like a third test of this high. It'd be better to look for an entry there than just entering at market open. Missed earnings on August 9th. But you're literally buying the news, which is generally not a great idea. The hedging that happened Friday after hours covering dark pools, is that similar to what happened after hours 8-8, allowing them to short us on 8-9? Yes. What the fuck, man? Why didn't you wake me up? It's still dark here. Can you pass me the coffee? I probably missed it. Did you talk about my spy puts yet and how they are tanking? Hello, sorry I'm grumpy. What's up, Bidhead? Welcome aboard. We'll see how the spy goes this week. I keep buying more puts, which is probably a terrible idea, but I just refuse to accept that there's any reason for the bullish momentum on the indexes right now at all. And I think any piece of bad news is going to cause a strong reversion and pull back down to like 410, maybe even lower. I just want to say thanks, dude. I feel like you've given me and many others so much great info to help us out long-term financially. I recently undressed my shares and started selling covered calls. Nice, dude. Congratulations. Girk, will rolling 11.5 cc's past OPEX reduce the chances of assignment? Why not just roll them out of the money? Like, roll them up and out if you're going to do that. You're going to keep them at 1150? I assume you're talking about BBBY. You could roll them up and out. That's what you'd want to do, is roll the strike up and roll the date out to a point, where you're break even, and you're not paying additional money to roll. You may be beyond that at this point, but it depends on where you sold your 1150s at. The Ivy is holding pretty high. I know. If Ivy hasn't bottomed or dropped significantly by Wednesday, Thursday on Rev, I'll probably buy a little more exposure than I have to ensure that I have sufficient exposure for OPEX. Wow, I actually caught up. Awesome. Ray BBBY Jan 5 C exercising. Why wouldn't you just sell the call outright, buy the stock instead of rolling to a weekly? Something about how US accounts settle cash and trades. Yeah, I mean, you open yourself up to if you're using a margin account, you know, you open yourself up to a little bit of like debit risk there. Just for a day though, I don't really know if it matters. You could do that. Although currently it's not worth it. I have no intention of selling my $5 calls unless BBBY hits like $20. How far out are your SPY puts? 9/16. I have some for August 26th. I rolled some of the like 8/19s forward to the 26th, but the vast majority of my position is for September. I think it's like 95% of it's for September 16th. Do you have any hope for your GME puts? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think we could see 36, maybe even 34 this week. What do you expect? Downs on Rev? Still the next couple days. I mean, Rev's already down right now. Revlon closed at 656 on Friday. So I mean, it's already cheap. I'd like to get it cheaper. You know, my target was this range right here. But since it fell below it so quickly, like just within after hours, it had already dropped below. I'm holding on for like this lower range, right around here. No, maybe a little higher. So between 650 and 615 looks pretty attractive. I don't know if it will drop to like the $5 range. If it did, obviously that'd be awesome. I'm just not sure it'll happen. And I think a lot of the shorting we're seeing now is just preparation for another period of covering. Right. So we've seen reported short interest drop on Revlon since the last reporting date back here. So we likely saw a large amount of short covering here. We saw some short covering here. I think they're preparing for another round of short covering because they're trying to get out from underwater in this position. And so I'm not sure how low they'll be able to drop it, but I expect them to try to push a little harder. And if they do, you know, I'm going to try to target that as an opportunity for entry. The unfortunate thing is Ivy is not coming down a lot. I don't know when your birthday is, Trash. Did I miss GMA? No? Is it insane that my two $5 C I sold on Bobby that expired this Friday haven't been called away yet? Yeah? It depends on your brokerage. Some brokerages don't assign like the covered calls until Monday morning. So check again tomorrow morning, and then if they still haven't been assigned, yeah, that's actually insane. Late August? Better get on it. I'll see what I can do. My region is not supported by GME Wallet, and now I can't access my money and NFT. So I'm selling my shares to load on puts until they free my F. Okay, why don't you just... Wait, if your region's not supported, how did you get a wallet in the first place? Just use a... Can't you, like, spoof your region or something? Like a VPN? Do you plan on repositioning into any IV plays on Rev? What strikes look attractive? I mean, I already have some positions, but yes. I just spent the last, like, 30 minutes discussing this, Walken. Did you miss that? 35s. I'm just gonna buy shitloads of $35 January calls. I tried. I can't believe you go back on your word like this. I thought we had something special. I haven't gone back up on my word. But you've kind of ruined it by talking about it. So now I don't know if I want to do it anymore. Obviously, it is and will be my decision, but generally, it's a bad idea to realize losses to roll up into higher strikes. SPY 916 405p. I've already rolled up my 380 to 400 last week. Yeah, it generally is. Throwing good money after bad is usually a terrible idea. No problem, man. Yeah, I mean, I do intend to enter more Revlon contracts at some point this week. Now, the highest strike prices of any options chain on any stock, usually in January. Yeah, I mean, those are the leaps, right? On leap dates. Because when higher strikes open on a stock, they generally open on the leap dates and stay there, right? And so as the rest of the chain falls off, those higher strikes on the on January contracts remain. Is Wednesday likely a good day to roll buyback CCs? Can be, yeah. Wednesday or Thursday. Like when Ivy hits the weeklies the hardest. If I don't publicly hassle you about it, then there's a near zero chance of you doing it. True. Provide an example of profitable options arbitrage. I mean, you buy a contract at a premium, and then like say you get a contract on the bid, and you know then sell the contract on the mid. That would be profitable options arbitrage. You can also buy like further dated contracts in the hopes that interest on this. That's actually something that like a lot of uh like financial like Discord scam people do, is they'll like buy a bunch of like a contract with no interest in it for cheap, and then they'll like talk that contract up a bunch so that people jump into that contract and pump it. Which is super shady. But it happens also naturally in the market. So you can buy like cheap out of the money contracts before earnings, and wait for earnings to come up, and then interest picks up in that contract, which raises the IV and tightens the spread, and then you can exit it on a like with in a better position. It doesn't always happen, but on high interest earnings it does. Do you see Bobby hitting 20 this week or next week? Maybe the week after this week, but not this week. I mean it could. I don't know how much was exercised on Friday and how much was rolled forward. Obviously FOMO is going to play a big part in that, and that's unpredictable. Handy Coils, thank you so much for becoming a Dillionaire, man. I appreciate it. Hit me up on the Discord. I'll get you added after the stream. Are low liquidity stocks plus jam top of chain contracts a winning combo in the current market conditions? Yeah, I mean IV in the market should pick up even more, especially if the like bear rally fails. IV is gonna get kind of crazy, right? How sad? What's sad, Buckle Up Jen? Everyone say hi to Buckled Up Jen. Was I not supposed to use my hedge gains and about 1K rolling my SPY puts? I reject that reality and substitute my own. I mean, my hedges almost paid for my current open SPY position. So yeah, I'm very okay with like the rolling out and stuff I've done. I do wonder if I should have hedged more on Friday. I hedged Wednesday and Thursday very profitably. Well, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday pretty profitably. But I probably should have hedged Friday as well. I didn't. So I'm still a little underwater on my SPY puts, but not as much. Remember, if you have like a far dated position like that, like September, it's beneficial to hedge nearer term moves that, you know, don't affect your thesis. That helps to, or you know, sell calls on your farther dated position and offset the cost of theta, or sell puts. It's sad that they need to deceive people to make money, and yet that is 99% of like financial influencers, at least in my experience. What happens if Rev gets bought out? We make a shitload of money. Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. Hedge for Monday or planning to? I'm not. Not really planning to either. Is there any reason to buy weeklies over further dated calls unless you're poor? Yeah, absolutely. There's a right way to trade weeklies, but you have to trade them. I think the biggest mistake I see being made in the Discord is people expect like a breakout, right? And they're buying weeklies to cover a really narrow window for that breakout, right? Which means that, you know, you need an extremely high degree of certainty for this position to be realized, right? Because your theta decaying into the end of this contract is just going to destroy the premium that you paid. So in situations where you're expecting something to happen, you know, you generally want a lot of theta, so you have time for the thing you're expecting to occur. And that way, when the price goes up, you know, you still have plenty of theta left, and you know, you realize a lot of premium value. So what people try to do is they try to swing with weeklies, and what you should be doing with weeklies is day trading them. Weeklies are great for day trading. They are awful for attempting to swing. I frequently use like 0 DTE in the money weeklies, or I'll use just in the money weeklies on like any day of the week for a trade that I have no intention of keeping open beyond that day. Very, very rarely will I carry a weekly overnight, and I'll only do that during like OPEX periods or something, where you know the certainty of the upside move before the expiration of the contract is very high. But once you've learned to day trade, yeah, weeklies can be an excellent way of leveraging those profits. September 16th spy puts are less than 30 days. If I'm just getting in now, would more theta be better? Yeah, it could be. You know, I think the target window for the September, so the September 16s are in place, even though they're less than 30 days. The real decline in theta doesn't occur until 20. So there's a little gap there where theta's starting to fall off, but it's not so bad. That covers mostly this week. After this week, yeah, I would absolutely want further dated calls to bet on the downside of the spy. Zero DTs or weeklies. Either, I mean, they're both weekly contracts, but I do frequently trade zero DTEs. But but I'm buying them. I'm usually buying them like in the money. Out of the money zero DT is the theta decays too fast for you to even realize profits over the course of like an hour. Yeah, the weekly will have whatever number of days left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I could go even more specific on that, I suppose. On like a 5 DTE, I will carry a 5 DTE to 4 DTE. But I will not carry a 4 DTE to 2 DTE or 3 DTE. So after Monday, Tuesday, I won't carry weeklies forward beyond the day that I buy them. What about end of chain weeklies bought the Friday before? Just a great way to lose money. On the note of shorter versus longer term for expected outcome play, August 26th spy puts getting dangerously close. If it doesn't play out by Wednesday, is it best to roll cut losses? Absolutely. Yeah. Especially for anything August 26th. I will cut all my August 26th spy puts by Wednesday. I will cut all my Septembers by Friday. Looking at SPY on daily, is it triple top from 428, 5.2, and 8.12 at 427? Uh, no, 428. 428, sure, it's close. It hasn't hit it yet. But that's kind of the price range I'm thinking that we could hit. Is this 429.34 upside? We may see that Monday or Tuesday. 5.2, 5.4. I mean, technically we had a triple top here, the 25th, the 28th, and the 4th. So I wouldn't say this is a triple top. This is more like, and this is almost a cup, right? So a rejection at, if it keeps climbing, a rejection at 430 would likely mean a pullback to like 400, like the mid range. The guy told me this, I never carry more than 2/3 of the time of the contract. Yeah, it's not bad advice. I mean, obviously, there's situations where you would, but I don't agree with necessarily 2/3. That seems awfully tight, but yeah, it depends on how you position, I guess. Thanks. That's always confusing. There's no such thing as a 0 DT unless you buy a weekly contract on Friday. You mean a contract that you intend to day trade? Yeah. And yeah, you can get 0 DT and 1 DT SPY options any day. SPY, QQQ. So usually most of my day trading of options before I started the stream was on the SPY. So VIX? No, VIX isn't VIX has it's like two expirations per week, or just one every Wednesday, right? I think for the index it's an expiration every Wednesday morning. Sweet Pea McGee, thank you for becoming a Dillionaire, man.
Happy birthday.
There's one dislike on a member-only stream. Someone is paying to hate watch.
Yeah, we might have a chance, but we ain't got rope. Give us more than a chance, cause we ain't no coke. Get the cash in advance, cause we hold in the float. If you are what you eat, that makes Dirk in the go. Hoping that you read the DD, cause when the shit squeeze, we go end up with the moon, man. Racks to the 510 weeklies while I'm selling.
Who's already have a drink with me? Alright, so I think we got everything covered. Again, I'm sorry that Pickle's picks are going to be a little light this week, but with repositioning on Jimmy, Bobby, Rev, we'll have plenty to keep us busy throughout the week, and OPEX coming up, SPY expectations going into SLD. So, you know, I'm not too worried about not having too many plays this week, besides the ones that are kind of already in place. But yeah, I was pretty busy over the course of the weekend. I do have some stuff though, and I'll have that out tonight around midnight. Maybe a little later. I may want to watch futures a little longer, but we'll see. And then I'll tag everyone when they're up, but make sure you check them in the morning, and then check again before market open for any possible updates. Because right now I'm kind of bullish on the SPY into tomorrow, which means, you know, maybe a week where we see like a midweek flip, right? For those of you that have been around a while, you know this, but, you know, Monday, Tuesday, pretty bullish. But Wednesday through Friday, kind of bearish. And so, you know, there will be some plays that are only good for these 2 days, some that are only expected for this period. So pay attention to that when I post. Mescarp placenta smoothie. Mesocarp placenta smoothie. Thank you so much for becoming a Cornichon. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. See you tomorrow.
Kinney's Mayonnaise is a proud sponsor of Pickle Financial, so when you get a hankering for some creamy, delicious mayo after a long night of snorting, sweating, and pacing, grab some Kinney's.